Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Mukti Veda Vibhagine Yomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharantam Agocharam Govindam Paramanantam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome everyone to our Q&A Satsang. And so we begin without Mark. Keep an eye here to see if anybody else tries to join us later on. So do we I have to tell you, I mean, I have been having big days because not only we were finishing up construction, but we begin running into a lot of other problems, infiltrations and other complications that has made me very busy. So I haven't read the next chapter because I like to read a little bit to see where the questions may come from. So I haven't got the opportunity to read the following chapter of the big picture of Swami P. So if anybody read the book as our homework, and if we have questions, so present me a little bit more of the context so that I can remember the book.
I'm not sure, but I think we finished the scriptures, or we were still discussing scriptures.
Well, I mean, if we have more questions about that, we can play with that. Otherwise, we can go into any questions in regards to the following chapter. Yeah. Or we can have any other discussion as long as it is related to Vedanta. So we are studying since more than a year, so we may pick any areas of Vedanta if we have questions, still unresolved. So anything will do.
I had a pretty simple question. I mean, the next stage of what we're going to is the next part of it is talking about the three gunas. So I know you know that. I know you know that very well, and but I think it's just a really interesting concept. But one of the things it said, he said early on that the gunas originate in Samkhya philosophy and is a key understanding in Vedanta. So I wasn't sure. I meant to look up what Samkhya philosophy is. Is that referring to
some kind of philosophy?
Yeah, Samkhya. Samkhya.
Samkhya, I don't know. I mean, I haven't done my homework. If I would have read, I would have picked on those words that I do not know to be prepared for that kind of question. But if Claudio, Google that word, please, and then let us know what it is, because that's what I usually...
I already know it's the Sankhya philosophy.
The Sankhya philosophy.
It's one of the most important philosophy where the Vedanta are based, the Hinduism are based. So it's Samkhya philosophy.
Yeah, Samkhya philosophy is dualistic by nature, but on the other hand, it's very, very close. I mean, the Buddhism came out of that line of thought, and as it says in the book there. So the concept of the three energies, they were developed in that philosophy. Yeah. Is that what you say, no? So
yes,
which is the unfoldment or how Maya unfolds the three energies as the building blocks of the creation. The three energies of the starting point. is the building blocks of the universe. So in all universe, the subtle and the gross dense ones. So we have these three energies. So do we have any specific questions about these three energies? We know that it's a very important teaching. Ramji has emphasized a lot on these teachings because he elaborates more than other teachers, and he even went to the extent of writing a book, you know, on these three energies. So we can play with any questions on this area that I may be able to help if we have doubts in that area. You know?
I was wondering if you knew the meaning of vibhava. He says Triguna Vibhava Yoga, and I don't really know what vibhava means.
Yeah, I used to know Triguna Vibhava Yoga. So did you? I have a Sanskrit dictionary, but it's in my other laptop. There are several good Sanskrit dictionaries, you know, or websites, you know. And if you put it there, you may be able to find. If you look for it there, Triguna Vibhava Yoga, yeah. A yoga of the three gunas, but I don't recall exactly what's the meaning of that word. Yeah.
Well, it says, my Google machine says, wealth, money, property, fortune. So in that context, I really don't.
No, it does not make much sense.
Benefit or
Yeah. So let me see here if I find one of my good Sanskrit. Okay, I cannot minimize my screen, my Zoom, because I'm recording, so I won't be able. So if anybody can find it out, otherwise I send this doubt over my next email. Okay, the meaning of the Triguna Vibhava Yoga. I used to know it, you know, Triguna Vibhava Yoga, a yoga. Yeah. Any success at your end, Claudio? Okay. I'm gonna share with you.
No, because I don't know how to write it. If someone will write me to the chat.
Lynn can share in the chat here. I'm gonna send you with my next email this huge Sanskrit dictionary that you can check nearly any word. You know, it's really vast. It was the best I found.
thanks.
But might be something related to, I mean, if we follow the thread of Ramji's teachings on the gunas, it might be something related to management, you know, because the whole thing about Triguna, the yoga of the three gunas, and how to observe them and to regulate them, manage them. So life is not about suppression of rajas and tamas, but it's a question of regulating them so that we can achieve our goals, our material goals and our spiritual goals. So Vibhava may be something on those terms of how to manage or regulate the three gunas so that it can favor our accomplishments, you know, our worldly and our spiritual accomplishment. They require this regulation or management of the gunas.
I find more or less the same thing: property, wealth, riches, kind of measure, distraction, emancipation from existence, luxury, fortune, money, influence upon, dominion, majesty. So this is what I found. So it's but maybe I have the same idea that you just
maybe it refers to the yoga of gaining, accomplishing, because this list there relates it lists several different kind of human desires, human goals, right? The desire for all those things. So all of those things maybe represent most of the human pursuits, and they are related to these three energies, maybe. So I will have to then look in that Sanskrit dictionary to find out what Vibhava means, in its root. In the context of Trigona Vibhava Yoga. I heard Ramji saying so many times this Vibhava that I remember researching it long ago. Yeah.
Ramji's going to have a seminar on the gunas this weekend, so I will ask him.
Yeah. That's a good one. Ask him.
And I found something from James about the three gunas, and he talks about the gunas, and then he says the technique that allows us to control them is called Trigona Vibhava Yoga.
Yeah.
This yoga originated in India several thousand years ago and is practiced consciously or unconsciously throughout the world today. So successful people in every field have to varying degrees mastered some aspect of this science.
Yeah.
So it's really about how to use the gunas.
Yeah, it's about Guna Management, as you often say.
Yeah, it's Guna Management,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that to me is an interesting topic, because to me it's what's the situation where you want to develop tamasic, kind of energy? When do you want to? It always seems like you're always trying to work towards sattvic energy. But what are the situations when you want to develop tamasic or rajasic energy and move away from sattvic? So does that have to do? Is that something that you're consciously thinking about and doing? Like, today I need to be more tamasic, or today I need to be more rajasic. Are we thinking that way, or how do we use the gunas and manage them based upon what we need to our daily lives?
Right. So, I mean, the very cycle of life, it somehow managed the guna twice. So as we move towards the evening, David, and naturally our body start getting a little bit more tired and more tamasic, and then it tends to be asking to go to bed and to sleep. So in order to fall asleep, we need more tamas. So, but what happens usually is that we live mostly Rajasic lifestyles, and a lot of us end up with difficulty to sleep because we keep, cultivating Rajas until late, And so when I'm too accelerate with my things, I have to move away from my computer by 8 in the night if I want to fall asleep at 10, And not always I move away from my computer because, I don't have many books. I have my books there. But often I just turn on Netflix and I watch some stupid movie that makes me very tamasic and puts me to sleep. But the goal here is, in sattva, as we know, you are talking about how to call for the tamas, so that we can rest. So when I was there in Tiruvannamalai with Ramji a few times, and those 3 weeks of seminar, they were so powerful, and used to produce so much sattva to the group, to the environment, And a lot of people used to complain of having trouble to sleep, and I was one of them. I couldn't sleep. I was so, high with sattva. You understand? So we say that we need to cultivate and develop and maintain more sattva. So we say that in respect to the spiritual work we do, because in order to us to do this inquiry and this discrimination between consciousness and our experience, for example, so we need to have a very contemplative and meditative, sattvic, clear mind. So we need to overall have a clear mind. But everybody, to be successful, even in the world, needs to have more sattva. What is the key of success in the world? Is to have a sattvic mind, a relatively sattvic mind, and a lot of rajas with it, supporting it, or you can put raja, a lot of rajas energy with a lot of sattva, quite some sattva supporting it. So if we have these two combinations, we can accomplish a lot, but you may lose your health as well if you keep going, trying to accomplish too many things, as we know. Another way to look at nature itself in the way it regulates, because there in the Ranji passage you just read to us, it says people consciously or unconsciously they manage their guna. So it means to say nature does manage their guna to us, according to our day-to-day activities and needs, and so when we get sick, for example, what nature does, nature not absolutely unconsciously to us, it just makes us more tamasic. So I don't get sick very often, but I know it's first-hand experience that when I'm really sick and ill, my body gets tamasic, my mind gets tamasic. I can hardly read a book of Vedanta because I'm too tamasic. And nature does that because nature wants to keep our energy for this healing process of the body, wants to bring back equilibrium to the body in all levels. So nature regulates those three energies to us through the day. That's why Ranjit said unconscious or no or not, we are doing that. But it is Ishwara doing it to us. But Ishwara is never completely alone in this game of life. With the jivas, they have a saying, they have a certain input that they can help Ishwara by saying, Ishwara, oh, I'm doing this and this, so to just bring up my sattva. I want you to bring up the proportion of sattva in my day-to-day activity because I'm doing this and that, and for that I'm developing a more sattvic lifestyle, and I'm dedicating a few hours to meditate and contemplate and study the scriptures. And then Ishwara is going to bring it back to us, a mind which has more sattva naturally. So the relationship between Jiva and Ishwara is to be understood, because Ishwara is not alone. Ishwara, as Ramji often said, is a facilitator, is a system that brings back to us what we are calling from life. So as Vedantins, we want to have a more sattvic life, and I'm looking forward for the end of all these constructions there in this piece of land that we have. Why? Because I'm much more comfortable when my mind is sattvic. Rajas is painful. So, but sometimes it's necessary. And then you go. I mean, it concerns me when it begins affecting a little bit my sleep. I like to have a good night of sleep. If I begin affecting my sleep, and then it's a red light. And it's bam, bam, bam. No, I have to be careful, because the sleep, a night of sleep must be, first priority, because.
Sorry, Arlindo. I heard a sound. Maybe Mark is there.
I'm watching here. Mark is not coming. He's not asking. He has never been asking.
Okay, sorry, because I heard a sound and
Yeah.
I thought that there was the.
Yeah. No, it was from. It's good. It's my cell phone that's making noise here.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I may turn it off.
Arlindo, I don't really understand the management part of the gunas. I can understand observing how Ishwara plays with the gunas and not maybe cooperating by going down some deep dark path with Thomas or running after Rajas. But I don't know how much active free will is meant to be employed in Guna management.
Yeah, this is a very good point, and I have to say something. So Ramji and Sundari, they are really much into this Three Gunas teaching as a mean to allow the jiva to really manage their gunas. And I always looked into this with a certain discretion, you know, because we don't find it to that extent in the tradition, these teachings about you can control the gunas. We need to understand that these energies, these gunas, they sit unmanifest, unconsciously manifest in our causal body. Okay, so when they show in our conscious mind, the subtle body, it shows as a tendency for action, activity, you know, or a tendency for laziness, procrastination, you know, and apathy, or a tendency to start and contemplate and meditate, you know, when you see your mind turning more clear. So they appear in the conscious mind as those states. Now, how can you control the gunas? Let me open another parenthesis here. When Ramji was teaching a lot of this, I was on those days I was still much associated with some friends there in Spain, Surya Lila, and I had some people because I was there a few times teaching some Vedanta to them or sharing some Vedanta with them when Ramji, before Ramji was living next door to them. And on those days, I saw people very excited, saying, no, now I know how to manage my guna, manage my guna. And quite frankly, I saw those statements and I found them a little bit delusional because, and even a little bit like arrogant to say like, no, I have control of my life because I learned Guna management. Okay. So how can we influence the gunas on our side, on our favor? So, in what kind of yoga is this? Is yoga of the gunas, you know? So, we can discriminate the self from any phenomenon that occurs, you know, below the line of Maya, let's say, you know. So, if we want to discriminate ourselves from the causal body, we could go to the extent to discriminate ourselves from our guna tendencies operating our causal body, our rajasic tendencies operating our causal body, or our sattvic tendencies operate as, you know, I'm none of these energies, you know. But the human intellect does not have the power to objectify and discriminate directly the gunas, because the gunas they exist in the causal body. The intellect is an effect. You understand? So the intellect is much more dense. So the gross, the dense, can never really objectify the subtler. Okay? So the gunas are very subtle. They are the building blocks, and they are there. The structure of our conscious mind is there, connected with its seed, its potential, which is the causal body. And those three energies are there permeating the causal body. So we cannot see that objectively, but we understand the mechanics by understand its effects. So how does the gunas affect us? Producing a mind which is, you know, apathic, depressed, you know, with this tendency to be lazy and procrastinate and so on, no, and negative and so on. So we see the mind and say, okay, so there is some gunas there operating, you understand? But yet, how can you affect the gunas in the causal body? We can only affect the causal body, you know, through our actions, you know, through our actions in the awakened state. You know, the actions, they happen through the physical body as well. So you need to integrate our subtle body with our physical body and say, okay, there are some lazy gunas influencing my life for the past few days. I need to do something here. So I need to do some actions here that are going to impact my vasana load and give a, you know, and begin converting some of that lazy gunas into some more active gunas. I get a lot of people who come to me about this topic and they say, I'm too tamasic for Vedanta and I'm trying to start and doing this and I don't manage. I feel lazy. I procrastinate a lot, you know, and I feel this subtle depression. I'm not motivated. And the people are trying to apply karma yoga and yin yoga and so on, and they are powerless, they are helpless, you understand? So what I often tell them, so I tell them the only way you can really effectively affect your causal body now is by moving your body, doing actions. You understand? You want to break this block of tamas, so you need to begin now by moving your body, because even your subtle body is tamasic. You understand? Your intellectual discriminating power is compromised by excessive tamas. How are you going to break those tamas? We never managed to convert tamas into sattva. We need to break that by introduce rajas. And how we do that? Lifestyle. I tell people, so if Vedanta does not work for you because you were too tamasic, you should begin doing some exercise. Usually are people that sit a lot, watching TV, procrastinate, eat bad food, and do not move the body and so on. Then you have to go out and run, do Pilates, do yoga if you can, go to the gym, do anything, but don't let this tamasic kind of subtle body, manifest in your conscious mind, as laziness and make your body grow with more and more fat. You understand? Because you have become kind of a potato. Are you saying in the United States a potato couch? Yeah, person.
Couch potato.
Couch potato. So we need to do something on the physical. You see, the guna management, we can discriminate ourselves as the gunas, but the same way we can discriminate ourselves as consciousness from the vasana. It says, I'm none of those tendencies, I'm none of those vasanas, even the sattvic vasanas, I'm none of that. I am free, limitless, ordinary consciousness. You can do that. But this discrimination is not very effective if the mind is tamasic or too rajasic. You understand? We need to convert tamas into rajas and rajas into sattva, so that this final discrimination, I'm not my gunas, can effectively produce self-knowledge and moksha. You understand? If the mind is not really sattvic, this discrimination is not really going to fructify as a certainty of self-knowledge, which is conducive to moksha. You understand? So we need to be realistic about that. I need to develop a sattvic mind. If my mind is too much tamasic, so I need to convert tamas into rajas, and then having rajas at my disposal, and then I begin converting some of those rajas into sattva, and then I'm going to be able to meditate, contemplate, study the scriptures, and then assimilate this self-knowledge. You understand? So that is the sequence. So how can we do this guna management line? So it's we can do it always by its effects. We have to look and say, okay, so I'm too tamasic or I'm too rajasic. So I need to make adjustments on lifestyle. Sundari is, I don't know if she brought out her book already on guna management. Did she? She had been for years working on this book. Guna lifestyle, it's Vedanta lifestyle. It's how to implement a lifestyle with activities and diets and things like that, so that I can promote a sattvic kind of intellect, make my mind more sattvic, my intellect more sattvic. So we need to see realistically, say, no, I'm being dominated by rajas or tamas. So I need to manage my gunas by managing my lifestyle. I have to make adjustment to my lifestyle. I have to go back to the fundamentals, which is like, okay, what are my most important priorities in life, So if I'm too rajasic, maybe I'm running too much after of material gains or success, and I got into the rat race, and it's just driving me crazy. So we need to look back and do honest inventory of our values. We go back to values here, and then we begin readjusting our lifestyle, and then our actions, they are going to be more contemplative, dharmic, and sattvic actions. And that way we have a positive impact and an indirect means to manage our gunas in the causal body. But it can only be possible by observing the effects of the gunas in our day-to-day life, the effects on the physical body and the subtle body, because I need more sattva, and my body is oscillating. My life is between rajas and tamas, and it's making the assimilation of these teachings more difficult to me. You understand, Lee? So we can talk more about that, but it's a lot of people say no, the Guna Yoga is to discriminate the gunas, myself from the gunas. Fair enough, but only very high qualified people can look at such a meter discrimination on that level very effectively. As we know, the denser the mind is, the more we need to work on discriminate the physical body, the food sheet from consciousness, because consciousness is attached to the physical body. So as we go discriminating the five koshas more and more to its subtleties, so to discriminate from the causal body, we often say, because it's the body in which we experience peace, when the mind rests free of desires and aversions, or in deep sleep, or in samadhi yoga, we say, so it's anandamaya kosha, but it's not only anandamaya kosha, because if the causal body is very rajasic, for example, so the individual is going to discriminate himself, consciousness, from the Rajaguna operating the causal body that is making the subtle body very active, looking for activities, So how can we discriminate myself from the causal body? I can discriminate by understanding these three gunas. And then I say, okay, I'm not this rajasic tendency in my causal body. I'm not this, this sattvic or this tamasic tendency. There is a room there. There is an element of breaking this causal body in the three energies, which are the nature of those vasanas. The vasanas fundamentally, they are classified, and our tradition, it breaks it in the Bhagavad Gita towards the last few chapters. There is a huge passage there that classifies nearly everything into the three gunas, you understand? And our vasanas fundamentally, they are tamasic vasanas, they are rajasic vasanas, or they are sattvic vasanas. So we can feel, we can sense those tendencies, because not directly, but we see our conscious mind, our subtle body. Our subtle body has become more tamasic. And then I say, okay, so it's 8:30, it's about time to become tamasic. Thank you, Lord. There is nothing I need to do here. I don't need to intervene. I want tamas to go and have a good night of sleep. But then if we are too tamasic in the morning, for example, and then we need to get going, usually I take a nice coffee espresso with some latte, you understand? And then that gets my day going. But I have to be careful. Sometimes I drink too much, and then I have class with the Brazilian people at 10 in the morning, and then I'm a little bit too accelerated, And then I have to say, oh guys, I'm sorry, I drank too much coffee. And then I begin drinking water to dilute the caffeine. So this is a way to manage the state of the mind, the gunas in the causal body, by observing its effects. I can tell when my mind is. Sometimes I'm surprised, because the mind turns into sattvic mind in the beginning of a satsang, when I'm just jumping in from a very rajasic state of mind or environment. Sometimes Ishvara may adjust us, fix up things for us. But the Lord does it all, But we need to observe, because the Lord does not do this whole play alone, As we know, our actions is what we offer the Lord, so that He's going to reshape our guna constituents, our setup, our guna formation in the causal body, So we play, the whole play is between Jiva and Ishvara. Lynn, we can talk more about that, please.
Well, my question now would be about the relationship, and this might be discriminating where it's not necessary, but between vasana and guna. And you've said before that we can, as if, re-educate our vasanas by choosing our action, our free will in accord with Dharma. Is that a correct
That's the only way.
understand?
We can reshape our vasana load so only by our actions, because you see, the vasanas are there. Once they are there, they are going to manifest, fructify. They are going to fructify as a tendency in the subtle body, in the mind, in the intellect, you understand? And then you can go and try to filter those tendencies. You can try to regulate. And then we go already in the field, the realm of disciplining the minds with the tendencies that are coming from the causal body. So that's another life, another level of regulation and control of what you're doing with those tendencies, because we don't want to be just following those movements, because they are going to create rajasic and tamasic actions that are going to reinforce those vasanas. But we are talking about, we have the vasanas there, okay? And how we're going to be effectively reshaping those vasanas. The only real way is by the actions we're going to choose to take when those vasanas, they manifest and pressure us with those tendencies, those, predispositions, propensities. So when the vasanas are there, how we do that? We do that by regulating, by filtering, by discriminating. Is this a dharmic tendency? Is this a good thing? Is it going to be good for my spiritual growth and for the environment, for the other peoples, for the dharma field? Is it a good thing to think and do and so on? Shall I follow this vasana? The vasana is very seductive sometimes. So we are filtering. This is control of the mind, control of those tendencies. This is a very subtle regulation, because we cannot really regulate on the causal body, but once it appears in the mind it has, okay, I want this, okay, or I don't want that. And that moment we have a control, because the vasana became conscious as a tendency, conscious tendency or conscious desire. And then we can try to filter, is a good word, to filter, to see, okay, no, it's a powerful vasana. It's really giving me so much trouble that, my mind is disturbed by this. I'm not going to follow this, but still my mind is disturbed and so on. So you are fighting those negative tendencies, those rajasic and tamasic tendencies. So they are vasanas, they appear here. Okay, but then more effectively is like you filter it, and then you're gonna act, in accordance with those vasanas, but you're going to act to offset that vasana. You're going to bring an action that, rather than an dharmic, tamasic action, you're going to say, no, I'm going to put an action that is really dharmic and sattvic action. Okay, and by doing that, we are reshaping our vasana load. Okay, rather than reinforcing the same vasana, we are going to say, no, thank you. I'm watching you. I'm being very careful. I'm regulating my mind as those tendencies come. Okay, I haven't examined those tendencies, and I know where it leads. Okay, and now I'm a little bit smarter. I have connected these dots for a long time. I have seen that it does not end well. So now it's enough. Okay, and then I need to offer an action, and this action, it has the power to not only not reinforce that vasana, but neutralize that vasana. I can offer an action that is opposite to that. For example, if I want, because I want something for myself, because I'm being greedy, I'm being insecure, I'm being this, I'm being that, and then I said, you know what, I'm not going to follow you, and I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to be generous today. I'm going to go on the road and I'm going to help someone and so on. So this is a way to attack a vasana, for example, a vasana of greediness, for example. So we have ways to look into our vasana load. But now the question of Lynn is, so how can we distinguish the vasanas from the gunas? So the vasanas, they are tendencies that they remain as the result of our actions, our attitudes and actions. they remains there as mental, emotional, intellectual impressions or tendencies to act in the same way whenever certain circumstances come into play. So we have these seeds, or this how you say, it's the seeds of the new action, but they are the result of past action. The results are traces, they are printings in the mind, in the causal body. They remain there. Okay. So as these vasanas are there, so we have the opportunity to understand, that a certain vasana, it is mostly around Tamoguna. So every vasana, we can classify this as predominantly, a Rajasic Vasana, a Tamasic Vasana, or a Sattvic Vasana. So uh, in the Gita, there is a chapter 16 or 17 that goes into details about that. You understand? So every one of those vasanas are going to give birth to a certain tendency, and this tendency are going to bring forth a certain attitude that's going to be either more tamasic. So what is a tamasic vasana? A tamasic vasana is still a vasana that is under the influence of desire, but it does not have the energy to go and try to fulfill those desires, you understand? And then this tendency is going to press the individual to sit, wait, dream, and dream and dream and try to get what he or she wants by cheating the system. You understand? Cutting corners, okay, lying, manipulating, deceiving, and so on. Okay. So this is a tamasic vasana. It's still under the influence. We see it in the political arena, especially in Brazil, where there is so much corruption. Okay, they still have their desires, but they sit, they wait, and then they wants to break, wants to cheat. I mean, in the common in the bottom of society, you see the criminals in Brazil robbing others and stealing and doing all kinds of tricks to get away with getting what they want without having to bring forth rajas, so that they can go and play the game without cheating, breaking the rules. So a rajasic vasana, I have a vasana, and my vasana here is I have a vasana for power and prestige. My whole life after power and prestige. I have linked power with prestige and happiness. And I want to gain happiness by having more power and more appreciation of others, validation of others, prestige. So this is a vasana. So this is a vasana that is very rajasic by nature. Understand? Because it's going to compel me to really go after those accomplishments that can give me power and prestige. You understand? So there are all kinds of vasanas. There are vasanas that are going to be more sattvic, and we can observe them. So all of our vasanas or tendencies, they can easily be classified by either rajasic, tamasic, and sattvic vasanas, and we can observe, examine our tendencies, and we will see that. Yes, Ruth.
He goes on to talk about the four classes of society, and
Yeah.
this is very controversial, I think, in terms of seeing people as lesser or better, based on the gunas. And we know what the caste system in India has become, and there's a lot of comparison, in the United States with race relations on the same order. So I think you got to be careful there by classifying whole groups of people, and historically also fixing them in that state,
Right.
because because obviously it's wrong. These
Yeah.
exist in every person.
Yeah.
There's a time when you have to be earning. There's a time, so he does go into the stages of life, and I think it's more appropriately associated with the stages of life rather than actually society in whole.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's when I start these teachings with Swami Paramarthananda, he makes it very clear that this Guna teachings has nothing to do with the Indian caste. The Indian caste is another division, you know.
mhm,
It is it's aspects of society that are closely and how you say compartmented, you know.
mentalized, yeah.
Yeah, compartmentalized. And these are people that they are born in that caste and they know that they are going to die in that caste. Okay, they never come. And there are, you see, the lowest caste possible. There are people that can be extremely rich, but the richness and the power that money may give to him does not allow him to change his caste. You understand?
Mhm.
So this caste is a different thing. But the three gunas, they operate in a different way when we look at the structures of society. When we see that either in the east as in the west, the people who are the teachers, the people who are the Brahmins, the Brahmins, the people who teach, the priests, in all societies, in all nations, the professors in the universities, this is a class of people that naturally they were born with a more scientific tendency. So much so that they choose to study, and teach, because they find more gratification, more happiness in learning, developing knowledge, and passing on knowledge. So this is the class of people, the teachers, the professors, the Brahmins, and so on, the religious people, and so on, that in general, they are by birth, they come with more sattva guna in their constitution, they are
But
more.
but you can't say that that's better. You can't say that that's a better state. All this talk about
And
sattva.
Vedanta does not say that it's better. Vedanta does not say. And starting with Paramarthananda, I can say again, he makes it a very, very clear point. The society, the structure of society requires the people who are more sattvic, have vasanas which are dominantly more sattvic, those that are a combination of rajas and sattva, and then those that are more a combination of rajas and tamasic, and the last ones are the people they are fundamentally tamasic with a little bit of rajas and stuff. And the three gunas are always there. You understand? It's just a question of predominance. And then there are these teachings in the Gita that they show in other passages of our text that divides the structure of the society as the people who are more sattvic, the people, for example, the governors, the politicians, all these people, the police force and the army, they are the people that have a certain understanding of Dharma. They want to uphold hard Dharma, and they have some sattva, but they have to have a lot of rajas, you understand, to hold those sattva and hold Dharma in society, understand? And then we have the business or commercial class, the people that produce for the society, okay? And then they have much more rajas, you understand? And then they have some sattva that allows them to be successful in whatsoever endeavor, but they are people that are going to provide jobs, provide goods for the society. These people, they need even more rajas, you understand? And if they have more sattva, some sattva, they are going to do that in a dharmic way, okay? And then the fourth category are the people that were born already due to the life circumstance. They were born more tamasic in a family, in a culture that's more tamasic, and then they do not cultivate much rajas and tamas, and they naturally they become the people working in the factories and then doing those jobs that do not require much energy and not much sattva. But in this structure of society, anybody who is more tamasic has the freedom and the potential to turn their mind more sattvic, and can even become a professor or a teacher, because everything is possible once we don't have these compartmentalizations of caste like in India, understand?
Mhm.
So people can
Yes,
travel
yes.
from between one and the other, you understand? But this is a very nice teaching. I'm going to look into this chapter. The next week, I'm going to bring some of the teachings of the Gita that somehow illustrates better these four class of society and the reason why things are they are, and why in every one of these classes of society, every part of this mechanism is absolutely necessary. How can we have a society without the labor people that is there doing those boring work, a line of production, just doing things like, mechanically. So why they are there, it's a cultural thing. They were born in a family that was more tamasic. They did not have access to better schooling and so on. This is all part of karma, you understand? But yet here and there you see people that may be born, may have been born in a very tamasic environment, and yet they come out. You understand? When you see, they just come out.
There,
And you're not,
there, there's a good movie on Netflix right now. It was a novel called White Tiger, and it's all about a driver in India and how he saw his servant class and how it became transitioned. So yeah, my point being, it's not about a class; it's an individual tendency, I think, that's cultured by a class of people. So,
well,
a lot of servant people are the highest sattva, Mother Teresa being one, and I mean,
no,
even,
Mother
the
Teresa,
highest stuff, it says the purpose is to serve. The purpose is to serve,
yeah.
mankind.
Yeah, but Mother Teresa, she was not a servant in the sense of cleaning house of anybody. She was a spiritual being, highly elevated.
She's,
Some say she is equivalent to a sattvic dharmic soul that came with
yeah,
the
but she cares for
empathy.
lepers on the streets, so,
Yes, but this is a totally different nature. I mean, there are so many sage, highly developed souls in India that they were sadhus, they were beggars on the street, spiritual beggars, highly developed. You understand? So this is total altogether is a different class of human beings. If we want to put them in a class, those are the highly spiritual beings. Which is different from the people cleaning the toilets or cleaning other areas or doing some work. Although you may find some people cleaning toilets who are highly evolved person, you never know. You understand?
I was thinking, sorry,
Go ahead, Elaine.
I was thinking about how Ishwara in perfect balance creates the creatures with different guna proportions. A bird, very vata, very sattva, sort of like, and a gopher living underground, eating roots, and it seems to me that the problem is not in the scripture. The problem is in the it's in the commitment to mithya that people have that distorts the meaning of the scripture. And how if we were all doing our swadharma, wouldn't we just normally be happy in whatever and fulfilled in whatever guna balance was given to us by Ishwara?
Yeah.
Yeah, it disturbs me because I see the effects of what's happened with human free will, but at the same time, it's not the design. It's the perversion of the design, to my mind.
Yeah. So you said a lot of things there. So when you say that there is no fault in the scripture, you understand? So I trust the scripture and the way Ishwara provides us with our guna how you say, configuration, let's say, you understand, is, as we know, by understanding the scriptures and trusting the scriptures, that it's all due to our Sanchita karma, from previous life. So we come, and then Ishvara says, okay, so this individual now, he needs to get to this environment in which he can learn new lessons, and he has a potential to elevate himself, so decline as well, So we all given what we deserve, in that sense. And if I was born in a poor middle class family in a poor country like Brazil, and a lot of difficulties, so, but it proved to be a good environment, because I had to break out of all of that and leave this country when I was young, instead to look for. And I had a spiritual vasana that took me to India right away. So you never know, but we get what it's a meritorious carrying the karma, karma dharma structure, the laws, the karmic laws. They are precise, they are based on our human individual effort to grow, to learn, to elevate, to become more pure, more dharmic. Understand? So this is what counts, and then the Lord is going to present us a new a new opportunity, a new play in which we can further grow and learn and so on. So all of that we need to learn to take it as perfectly custom-made design, giving us further opportunity to learn and grow and elevate ourselves spiritually, So, but again, so if somebody is born in a tamasic family, it does not mean that the person has to exactly follow the same path of one's father or mother and die very tamasic watching TV, and drinking and eating junk food from the beginning, from those big bags that only United States produces, those big bags of junk food, So everybody has an opportunity to turn things around. You understand? Everybody has an opportunity. So that's how, Ishvara provides us with our guna configuration in accordance to whatsoever we have brought into the system in our previous births. So that, now I need a more tamasic environment. So I need to break through that tamas, and that's the best thing for me. So that's how we need to learn to see, and rather than seeing that, oh, Ishvara is being unfair with these poor people. I got myself in so much trouble many years ago when I was playing with the Shine World. There was a forum there. I used to play a little bit, and then people start talking about social injustice in India, and I start present the teachings of karma, you understand, and how everything was perfectly designed and ordered, so that everybody, if anybody is suffering, we are suffering to exhaust some karma, some papa karma that needs to be exhausted, So if the whole of society nowadays goes into kind of dictatorial, in which we don't have our liberties, civil liberties anymore. But this is our prarabdha karma. We need to exhaust that kind of papa karma, for example, in that connection what you said. So everything is properly, perfectly precise, designed. So the favorable circumstance and the difficult circumstance, they do not happen by any chance. That nothing happens here without Ishvara's consent, So on the micro, in the individual level, on the town level, on the nation level, and on the planetary level and universal level, everything is under these laws governed by Ishvara. So I got in a lot of trouble because I present these things and they say, oh, you don't have empathy, so why are you doing that in India, with your satsangs, and you are not doing anything to help the poor, to help the Indian women that are burned by their husbands so that they can get new wedding and so on. You are not doing about any of that. So when you think about it, what is your karma laws going to say about that? And then if one has to be honest, you say, well, for sure, the person in that position came to live that experience. So it is like, so there was some proper karma there that needs to be lived, you know. It does not mean to say that we don't know, we don't do not do anything to help somebody in difficult circumstances. For example, if somebody is in a lot of suffering and I encounter a person and I feel sympathy and empathy and love and compassion, and then I begin trying to help this person, and then this person it begin coming out of that extreme adversity, and then what am I doing? Am I interfering with Ishwara's determination of adversity and papa karma to that person? I'm messing up with Ishwara. No, Ishwara has present, for example, in this scenario, has present a lot of adversities and unfavorable circumstances. In other words, papa karma to a person. And then Ishwara has present, in this case, me, to go there to alleviate the pain. So, and then there was a lot of papa karma, and then Ishwara says, oh, let me throw a little punya here, and I'm going to send Dave to go then helping that person. Dave just thinks that he's doing, Ishwara is just saying, oh, Dave, now you have to do a sacrifice here and give something to this poor, helping this people. And then the person, you are not messing up with Ishwara because Ishwara is doing all about it, you understand? So we keep doing what somehow our nature and our vasanas and what the Lord compels us to do. And but ultimately, I mean, Punya and Papa are playing all the time. The gunas, you know, they are going to present, you know, circumstances that are going to be more in accordance with our happiness, our peace, and our growth, Punya, or circumstances that are going to serve the purpose to exhaust Papa karma. You understand? And it does not mean to say that we should never try to alleviate the pain of some people. You understand? We follow our impulses and we do it knowing that it's Ishwara doing it through us, you know? Any objection? Did I cover your question, Lee?
Yeah, I think the gunas are kind of, as you say, causal body, hard to discriminate down there, hard to create an object out of them that you can think about and, you know, stuff like that. So, but it's like the gunas saturate everything.
Yeah.
It's all permeated by gunas. So
yeah, everything. It's the building blocks of our three bodies and begins with the causal body. It's the building block of the cosmos. Everything begins with the three gunas. The three gunas are going to bring forth the subtle elements, and then the subtle primary elements are going to grossify, and then a lot of other elements are going to come, you know. So, and then all these, you know, configurations of Maya, they are permeated by these three gunas. And the subtle body, the human subtle body, has a huge proportion of sattva. But unfortunately, in order for it to stand, it needs rajas and tamas. And our goal here as inquirers into the nature of reality is to help Ishwara to keep or maintain our subtle body as more sattvic. And it's not a question like, oh, okay, I want so much sattvic intellect because I want to discriminate and be free. You understand? So in order for that, we need to do adjustments in our life because we cannot, you know, say, oh, I want to have more sattva guna here because I want to get self-knowledge. But at the same time, I want to be running my three companies and making 200,000 a month and so on, you know. So sacrifices are going to be needed here. Understand? If you want self-knowledge and moksha, you need more sattva. And then you begin, you know, moving your lifestyle into a lifestyle of more study and contemplation and meditation and reflection and so on, rather than doing to keep my fortune, you know, my wealth, you know. So everything is a price tag attached to it, you know. And Sattva Guna does have, because, you know, contemplation, study and contemplation usually does not make much money in the end of the month, right? So if Karen starts using most of her day just to study and contemplate the scriptures, and if she does not do all the actions that are required to bring the required income, you know, so all of that study and contemplation is not going to pay her bills. I remember a friend of mine in Brazil that he was so crazy with Vedanta, and he began, and I invited him to be teaching Portuguese to help me with spreading the word. And he was so crazy with it that he was neglecting his role as a provider in the family, a wife and two children, and a difficult karma, having to look after old parents and you know, in a difficult country like Brazil. And he started going and studying Vedanta and writing Vedanta and answering Vedanta and so like that, and neglecting all his activities as a biologist, you know, and the jobs he had. No wonder he ended up divorcing from his wife. His wife was like, okay, so this Vedanta thing is going to destroy our life here. And then at point came in, he turned to me and said, like, okay. So he called me and said, oh, Nagar, so I want to understand one thing about the Gita. In the Gita, we have a passage that Krishna says, so keep your mind in me and me alone, and I will take care of your getting and your keeping. Understand? So just keep your mind on me. And then and I'm doing that. I'm doing everything. I'm teaching it. I'm studying, you know, and the Ishvara is not taking care of my getting and keeping, you know. So it's a very interesting, it's an extreme example, but keeping the mind in the Lord, it means to say also to play my roles appropriately as a good karma yogi. I'm doing my things. I'm working as a provider, and I'm working as a provider, keeping the Lord in mind. And then Ishvara is going to take care of my getting and my keeping. You understand? But I need to follow my swadharma, my roles, you know, I have children, I have a wife, I have to bring money. So, but we can do all of that, keeping Ishvara in mind. It does not mean that we just, you know, walk away from everything, or if we just study Vedanta all day long and hoping that Ishvara is going to go there and deposit some money in our bank account. No, it's not going to happen. Understand?
So we really need to think about adding the component of Dharma to this, which is really what's coming up next in the book, is talking about Dharma and the natural order of life. And so there's all these elements that come together. There's no one right answer, was what I'm hearing. And the other observation I have is that this feels a lot more about like, what can I add to what I'm doing as opposed to what can I subtract? So we always talk about like unveiling or taking away the veils, but in this particular case, it's like, well, if I want more sattva, you know, what do I do to add more sattva to my life, as opposed to, I don't get more sattva by reducing the vajasic. You know, I get more sattva by doing sattvic. So if I want more sattvic, then I'm going to paint my room green versus red, kind of thing. And so it always feels like it just feels more of a discussion about what can I add to my life to make it to make it more sattvic. And at the same time, understanding that sometimes I need to go to sleep, and so I need to add tamasic type energy to it and make choices that are more tamasic, and time to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's kind of an example, Dave, of taking away, like I have a tendency to probably from being the oldest sibling, I don't know, like sort of control and always be right and have power with my siblings. And so I look at, I need to take that away, you know? So there's a takeaway, you know?
Well, or you could take it where it's like, I need to give more power to them. So rather than taking it away, how do I give more power to them? So it's an add versus something that we need to do. So to me, it's a really encouraging, positive thing to think about. What can I give to my siblings control, all right? And in effect, that will take away the control for me, which is good, which is going to make me and help me become more sattvic myself. That's what I'm thinking. So,
Oh, I like that. That is a good reversal. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of the reversal. I'm thinking about what do I add? Because I just feel like so many times I feel like it's just like, you know, it's like very judgmental and negative. It's like, well, I have to fix this. I have to fix this. I have to be better at this. I have to be better at this. And by taking all these things away, I'm going to become better. But instead, it's like, how do I do more? So a concept that I've played with quite a bit from yoga is just like generating the feeling of gratefulness in your heart when you are really upset or you're grieving. Let's say you're grieving over the loss of something or something. Then the idea is to generate gratefulness in the heart because it crowds out the grieving and you become filled with gratefulness for that person, for that animal, or for whatever it is that you've lost. And to really focus on that. So I just love the concept of adding. And that's kind of what I'm hearing here, Arlindo, is this is really about adding to our lives. And, you know, and using the gunas to add, to enrich, to help take us in a direction which, you know, we'd like to develop an environment of sattvas so we can really study for moksha. Yeah.
So let's close this class after this last discussion, this input from you, David and Karen. So life is just a continuous mechanism of stimulus and response. Okay, so we are hit moment to moment to inner stimulus and outer stimulus that comes, and then immediately they call for a response. Okay, so our response to life, it can be a situation like Karen was saying, oh, I have this tendency, I want to control and direct the life of my brothers and sisters and so on. And this I realized that it afflicts me and disturbs my mind and gets me into trouble and agitation. And so I need to change that. Okay. So now she has this inner tendency and now it came, it's playing out. And then she had the opportunity to watch it, discriminate it, and offer a response which is not really exactly on those same lines, because you have already understood that that kind of response is going to bring mental conflict, agitation, or, you know, sometimes a certain satisfaction or power, but there's a huge price tag attached to that, you know, because then I have everybody asking me, hey, now, sister, what should I do here? What should I do there? You know, it becomes a burden once you understand that you want to do your inner work. You don't want to be doing the dharma of others, like in the Gita, it says, no, it's very dangerous to keep doing the dharma of others. So life is about responding to this inner and outer stimulus that come to us, you know. So the degree we respond properly, adequately, and timely, you know, is the degree of our mind, meaning to say my mind is more sattvic, so I can respond more timely and more appropriately, more dharmically, and you know. So the question here is, so what are we gonna add? How can I use the gunas to add, right? So the gunas, to as long as they become more and more sattvic, they allow me to respond more dharmically, more appropriately and timely. And by doing so, I produce a result of my actions which is more conducive to a more and more clear, sattvic mind. It feeds on itself, you understand? So we need to know that every time we are going to have to be called to respond, it may be coming from outside, a situation, circumstance is called, or can be a tendency that comes from my causal body, my personality, okay? And then we need to choose our response. To choose it appropriately, we need more sattva. So even to live a conflict-free or to have success in our endeavors in life, we need more sattva. You understand? But we're going to need sattva to produce sattva. You understand? It's self-reinforcing. But we need to break it to the beginning, because once we see that our response are more fundamentally tamasic, and then we need to control those tamasic response and bring about, a true power, willpower, and knowledge, understanding. We need to bring forth a response that's going to break that chain, that self-reinforced chain of tamasic, inappropriate or undamaged or freaking control actions and so on. We need to break this at a certain point. So it's like sattvic mind is going to produce sattvic actions, which is going to produce more and more sattvic vasanas. So we need to somehow find a way to break away from those unnecessary rajasic tendencies and unnecessary tamasic tendencies and bring forth, sattvic actions so that we can begin cultivating sattvic vasanas, sattvic tendencies, wise tendencies, Sattva is associated with wisdom. So the bottom line is that what we can add to our life with this management is cultivating and developing more and more sattva, so that our vasanas, our tendencies can be wiser, more wise tendencies, more sattvic vasanas. So, okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. And by the way, I'm going to prepare our next Thursday class, and I want to revisit the four social class based on the gunas, and we can talk a little bit more about this vasana and guna talk as well if questions arise. Okay, but we can move into the next topic as well. All right. Okay. Much love. I will see you next Monday.
Good. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.